Yeah. Yeah.
Brian Davis races, and you can too. This weekend we are racing in LaCrosse, Wisconsin. 3 days of racing. Friday night, time trial straight up a hill. Saturday, road race, 50 some odd miles, maybe somewhere in there. And then Sunday is a crit. I am super excited. We got to take the shop van over so I could relax in the van. Somebody else drove. We got ourselves an Airbnb here. This place is really cool. It's actually a historic landmark. This house is built out of metal. So after World War II, they created these houses to repurpose the factories that were making bombs into making houses for returning vets. That is neat. So we have a crew of racers. We have, I think there's 6 people staying in this house from the team, which is fantastic. We rented out the house right behind here with another group racing. This is going to be a really fun weekend. We're about 3 hours away from the normal Brian Davis Races garage. This looks like a good place to drink beer after said races. All right, I'm super stoked. We're 3 hours away from race time. This first race is the TT up the hill. Not my strong suit, if I'm honest, but very, very excited to do this race. It's been so many years of people talking about this race, and I've never done it. So again, we are in LaCrosse, Wisconsin. 3-day race omnium here in LaCrosse on the Wisconsin cycling calendar. And there should be some good firepower here from people really all over the country. It's a pretty well-known race. So I know there are people in other parts of the world that look at a hill like this and think, what's the big deal? And I would agree with you. But we live in Wisconsin and it is pancake flat, especially where we live. So to me, this is Everest. This should be fun.
I mean, it hurts. It's like, for really fast people, like 8 minutes, and like us normal folks, like somewhere in that 10-11 minute range of really, really miserable.
Okay.
So,
oh, Brian Davis.
5-5-3.
Should be the one that says bad.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Hey race fan, Brian Davis races, and you can too. Okay, this is it. The time trial begins. This time trial pretty much goes straight uphill. It is 3.7 kilometers at 4.3% average grade. I got some intel from teammates because this is the first time I've ever shown up to do this race, and there's a lot of ways to screw up this time trial, and I found a few of them, that's for sure. So the first way that most people screw up the time trial, unless I've done it once or twice before, is they go too hard in this beginning section. So as my teammates understood it, this beginning section is definitely one of the hardest, longest slogs. After that, there's some areas where it levels out. So my goal here was to try to stay under control, be around 360, 370 watts, and just try to maintain that without blowing up. Now, I felt like I was really going terribly slow. But such is life. So the concern was blowing myself up. Now in about, I'm going to put it in fast forward in a minute. At about the point it goes into fast forward is really when things started to hurt. And sadly, I got caught by my 32nd man pretty quickly, and I thought for sure that person was going to blow up, but he didn't. Good for him, bad for me. Overall, my time was just a tick over 10 minutes. The winner's time was 7 minutes 54 seconds from Jaden. Just an incredible amount of power. I saw Jaden go up the hill. I saw him go up this section. He was standing up all the way up this drag, pushing pedals. Just incredible amount of watts going through that bike. So this is not my bag, so that's for sure. But in any event, it was a great weekend. I had so much fun. I Just had a wonderful time spending a good chunk of time with teammates and just talking about bikes, living bikes, eating, breathing, sleeping bikes. There was a great adventure. We went out for Indian food after this, which was a questionable choice, but in any event, it was a lot of fun. Had great support from our shop, and just really enjoyed it. It was a great way to see if Trainer Road, there goes my guy. It was a great way to see if Trainer Road had as big a benefit on my training as I suspected it did. And it's hard to say in this TT. I felt, to be honest with you, a little dejected. I was wildly sore from this effort. The week going into this, I did rest for 3 days, and maybe that was one day too many. I just didn't have time to get a spin in before this route, but such is life. In any event, you can see my face is, it looks like I'm smiling. I am not. I am suffering. It hurts a ton. But what a beautiful course, too. What a absolutely breathtaking part of the Midwest United States in the LaCrosse area. The road race that I'll show footage of here in a minute was fantastic. Oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. Where we live is just so flat, and this area has just way more interesting geography. So yeah, I should really figure out a way to get over there and just ride without necessarily doing this amount of pain in a race. So there's a bar there, of course, because it's Wisconsin. Turned the corner. No one gave me a whiskey hand up. Sad but true. So this section here had a few rollers where you thought, oh, this has got to be the end. And you get all excited, and then you pop over this, and you don't see a finish line, and you think, okay, well, the next one's got to be the end. And well, that's not true either. So there's like 3 rollers, I think it is. So again, without having done the course before, there was definitely some things I could learn there. So I look forward to next year because I think I have a little bit better of a plan, and I'm definitely going to pay a little bit more attention to what I'm eating. 2 weeks leading up to the race, if I could lose 1 or 2 pounds even going into this race, it would absolutely be worthwhile. So in the end, I ended up putting out 334 watts, or something like that, which is almost exactly my FTP, which is wildly disappointing, right? Because it's only a 10-minute race. Don't let the duration on that video fool you. I finished just a tick over 10 minutes. This includes some start house stuff, I guess, or something, so not sure. But, you know, another thing about the TT, it's a great place to start racing. If you can find a local uphill TT somewhere in your neighborhood, what a great way to jump into racing without too much stress or pressure. So for those of us who have not raced yet, an uphill TT would be a great way to start. Perfectly safe. Oh, man, that hurt. All right, day 2.
All right, day 2 of racing in LaCrosse. 6:30 a.m. packing up the truck, and we're gonna go do the road race today. It's a little bit shorter road race than one would think. So I think the Masters race is gonna be like 43 miles or something like that. So should be full of fireworks. And that's good for battery life, I guess. So there's that. Masters 1, 2, 3, road race, LaCrosse. Beautiful day. It's a nice day to ride solo, I think. Off the bench.
All right, let's go check out this course. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous day. It was supposed to be a little bit colder than it was, and ended up being absolutely unbelievable day. So here we are in the first, just dropped neutral, and there goes my teammate Andy right off the front. Not even 1 minute into this race, he is attacked. And believe it or not, that was his plan. So he saw that the race was a little bit shorter at 43 miles and felt good about his chances. And we have another super strong teammate on our team. His name is John. And the plan was that Andy attacks. If he gets pulled back, that may have softened the field for John to attack. And John is an incredible time trialist. So we liked our plan, and interestingly enough, we absolutely executed it, which was really cool to see our little team make things happen and force other riders to make decisions based on that. So some of them are strong enough that those decisions don't matter much, but that's okay. We did what we could. So great little town, Chaseburg, I think is the name of the town, near LaCrosse. It's about 15-20 minutes outside of LaCrosse. Just a really, it's like cycling heaven, honestly. It's Amish country, so there's not a ton of cars when you get into the farm roads and get off the highway area. And super friendly people. They had Amish bread and pies and donuts at the registration booth, so that was fantastic for after the race. So these roads are great, and the whole race was unbelievable. So I would encourage you to do some research and find the LaCrosse Omnium. So if you search for that term, you will find it. So the course was a pretty long, punchy uphill over time, some crosswinds across the back, and then this is a screaming downhill. And I just wanted to let the whole downhill play. I never did top 50 miles an hour, but man, I wanted to. So this little turn here, well, it's not little when you're going 49 miles an hour, so or 37, whatever it is. That turn freaked me out, and there were two of these right-handers that freaked me out. I think there's a car coming on this piece of footage, so yep, that'll make you pucker. But our race was nice and safe, no issues there. And then after that, you could just let her rip. There's a slow sweeper to the right, and then it'll turn, or to the left, and then it'll turn right again. But just a really, really cool course. I would not change a thing. So if you recall, Andy is still off the front. There was no significant attacks to go chase Andy. And then it was shortly after this screaming downhill that things started to get a little bit different. So there was no, like I said, no attacks from the field at that point, but Andy's still off the front, and we're just about to pull him back after this downhill. And you might be able to see John, our other teammate, who's quite tall, take off the front. I'm not sure. Another interesting thing, John went to go shut down someone that was going to chase Andy earlier and cross the center line, and the moto ref, there's Andy getting pulled back, or is that John leaving? I think that's Andy getting pulled back, so John will be flying the coop shortly, I think. Can't quite tell. So anyway, I learned about something called a rolling relegation. So the moto pulled John to the back of the field, and John thought he was DQ'd, so he came to a complete stop, and the moto guy was like, no, go ahead. It's a rolling relegation. So I'd never heard of that. Maybe you haven't either. So that was kind of interesting. So I guess the lesson there is to clarify what the punishment is before you assume that you have to stop racing. John did obviously catch back on. So here we are, just wrapping up lap 1. And we are going to, you can't even see John, he took off so quickly, so he is up the road somewhere, and then there starts to be a little bit of an organized chase, or I sense that there's going to be an organized chase, so I move myself up here to try to disrupt the flow of the pace line should they decide to put in a good effort and pull John back. So I successfully did that as a dutiful teammate. My other teammate, John, up there in the red, is doing the same thing. And we're not in anybody's way, but the goal is to not pull through as quickly. Slowly slow down once you're up there. You're just trying to mess up the rhythm of a pace line so that your teammate does not get pulled back so quickly. Now we're heading into lap 2, and I think I cut the footage. This is where the hill starts again, and this is where the fireworks start. So there was an attack just before this. This is my teammate Andy, who is, as you recall, off the front, so he's pretty gassed. So he starts to slip, and I am very gassed. So I start to slip faster than Andy, and I didn't spend any time off the front. So, yeah, it was unfortunate because I really was hoping to stick with this group while they were still chasing John, but I just could not do it, which was so frustrating. I was really hopeful that my winter training would be able to get me into this lead group, but it didn't. And then I slipped back, and then I was in another group, and then I slipped off that group, and then I was just all by myself and totally dejected. Eventually, I got my head out of my butt, and I found this group, which ended up really being the field, and we were working really, really well together. So a really peppy pace line, well organized for at least a lap and a half, and then we sort of broke up when we started getting close to the finish. But this was a great way to collect yourself. Now we're finishing this third lap, which was our total race. So this is actually the lead out for the group sprint. This is my teammate John doing the best he can. He's pretty gassed. I felt okay at that point. I had done a lot of pulling with the group, just, I don't know, get a workout in or something. So, but this was a good, this guy faked me out. He got me hook, line, and sinker on that little fake sprint. So we're just coming into the finish. John's pretty gassed. I don't think I'm going to get a lead out of John, but we're too far away for a sprint. So anyway, the lesson here is this lead out's not going to work out too well, but it's still, as long as you give yourself a chance, which in this case means some open road, then at least you can get something out of it. So there's John trying the best he can, and then I got to go because it does not look like we're gonna do very well if I stay back there. So I hope somebody else goes so I can grab a faster wheel. Nobody seems to be going fast enough, so I just take matters into my own hand, and it worked out well. So I ended up being totally dejected in this race, lots of emotions, and eventually won this field sprint and felt really, really good about that. It was a great way to end this race.
That race was really hard. It was a great group at the end that worked together really well. That was a lot of fun. Excuse me if I have boogers in my mouth. Sorry, hope I don't have any in my mouth. Excuse me if I have boogers in my nose. But I got the sprint. It was ugly, but I got it. And that's something to feel good about. Get the sprint. So rest up and go race a flat crit tomorrow. Yes, flat. But man, this is such a pretty place to ride. Oh my God. Gorgeous. Just absolutely freaking gorgeous, this place. Really, really pretty. Oh, angry bird. Don't get me, bird. All right, go rest up, see how the team did.
Okay, my race is done. Now it's time to watch my teammate Brent race the pro race. So we had a couple beers, had a couple laughs, hanging out in the van, and our job was to give Brent a bottle. That did not work out very well.
Great time for
Yeah, guys. Go, Brent. Yeah. You hit my hand. Go, Brent. Yeah. He can't be mad at me. He hit my hand.
Was he there?
What went wrong with that bottle feed? What went wrong?
Well, Brent grabbed my hand. That went wrong.
Clearly.
I mean, that was obvious.
Yeah.
I agree with that. You didn't want the bottle. It was just a quick fist bump. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Hey, buddy.
Love you too.
Race is easy.
So,
Well, despite my total failure at getting Brent a bottle one way or another, Brent had a great sprint. There was a move off the front with a couple guys, one in the middle, and then Brent had a great sprint. You can't really see what happened in my footage there, but he did really, really well. So good job to Brent.
one bottle right now.
I already drank.
One of this still half full. Look at that.
This is the one I grabbed from the cooler after I already drank the other one that was full in the back of the van.
Yeah, we tried. That first one, he hit me right in the hand.
Sorry.
I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
I got stressed out. I made Webby do it.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Yeah.
Way to go! Go Macy! Go Macy!
What? Yeah. Yeah.
Right on, day 3. Okay, this is the Masters 1, 2, 3? 2, 3? It must be 1, 2, 3. So there was some serious firepower in this field. There are Masters national champions. There are people who can win a race whenever they feel like it. There are solo breakaway specialists. There are breakaway specialists. There's all kinds of firepower in this group. Now, interestingly, I was just sort of excited to just be racing in this field to watch the race unfold, and I think ultimately that's what screwed up my brain for this race, because I just wasn't mentally clued into the fact that I actually could do well in this race. And I regret that because there was an opportunity for me to do better and save more energy, but that's okay. Still a great race, still had such a fun weekend doing this. So this first couple laps, I really struggled to stick with the group. It's just you can see the course profile in the upper right hand corner, and this turn we're going into now, this is the fourth turn. I let the whole lap play on this first lap playback because they're really short, but this turn was really gnarly. Those little cobblestones were one thing, but then there was a little bump in the pavement that made you almost catch a little air, it felt like at least. And then that turn was hard left, and there's a manhole cover and there's broken pavement that is right through the line that a fast bike racer would want to take. Interestingly, just real quick, it did rain, like right when we finished, it poured down rain. And the women's race was cut a little bit short. They had to race in the rain, and then I ended up jumping into the pro race, and the course was dry by then. It was a crazy little freak storm, but these organizers were even out there wiping down the manhole cover with towels. That's the level of awesome that we're talking about here with the LaCrosse Omnium. So again, make your way out there if you can next year. So this field was just constant attacks because everyone knew there was going to be a breakaway. So everyone was edgy for a breakaway. The speed of this race, this might have been the fastest race I've ever done, or at least felt the fastest that I've ever done. And we were really, really smooth. We would take these turns. It was a super safe race. There was no bumping, no elbows, no yelling at each other, none of that garbage. Everybody just cruised, and we were flying. Interestingly, later in the pro race, it was a very different thing, and I think I'm going to do a video when I do the full voiceover for this race, which I will do. I'll compare how the masters are taking turns compared to the pros. Might surprise you a little bit. Anyway, all right, so here's this little move, goes off the front. Now, what I was meaning to say before is constant move, a little bit of a break. There weren't too many breaks, or when I say break, there weren't too many respites from the pace, because this would happen. People would shoot off the front, everybody would chase it, everybody would cover it, and then we'd wait till the next 2 or 3 people that wanted to shoot off the front go. Oh, it's just so fast. But no one was going to get away because there's just too much talent that wanted to get away, and I think ultimately it was just a game of chess and a stalemate because there's lots of people that could get away, and they all did not want the other person to get away. So anyway, one person did get away, and that is Jaden. Pulled off the front at some point in this race. I don't even have it on the video, but he solo took off, which is incredible how fast we're going, and he soloed off away from us. Yeah, he put in a blistering attack. I did see him leave. I couldn't find it in the footage, but it was painful. And I think mostly it was about timing because he timed it after a number of these attempt, and then he made it stick. So anyway, about halfway through this race, I finally felt like a bike racer again. So I was able to move my way up to the field. Now we're getting close to the end of the race. This is actually like the last lap. So I just wanted to show like I am at the front of this race, and then I just slipped back. I just let all these people jump in front of me. Not that I wasn't, I'm gassed and I'm working hard and all that stuff, but I just let way too many people get ahead of me. So now I'm in a really bad position going into the last lap, which we're going to flip to the last half lap. This is starting the last lap. We're going to skip a half, and then this will be the last half a lap, which I had a good lead out, or good teamwork. So that's one teammate, John, and then Andy's going to come alongside me. And if I had any more horsepower, I could have been barking at Andy to go faster, and I'm sure he could have or would have. But I didn't have I barely had enough horsepower to stay on Andy's wheel. And then when Andy takes off in the sprint, I have nothing to come around him. So in any event, I ended up 10th in this race, and I'm really happy with that. With the speed of this race, the quality of racers there, I feel great about that. This sprint definitely could have gone better, but I also was burning 1,000 watts almost every time coming out of this fourth corner and through the whole race. So there's my sprint. I just can't pass. I can't even grab the wheel to pass anybody, of course. Yeah, no pop left. No pop. All right, that's it for that. Now, let's wrap up the weekend. Remember, the goal of this channel is to grow our sport, grow our knowledge, and grow our fitness. So growing the sport, that uphill time trial is a great way to get into cycling, racing, get into racing. So if you can find an uphill TT or even just an individual TT, it's a great way to jump into racing with no stress. Nobody's going to be bumping elbows with you. All the room in the world, and it's just you against the clock. It's a great way to start and get a flavor for racing. Certainly you can try this in triathlons, but then you're a triathlete, so plan accordingly. Growing our fitness. I guess we learned that spicy Italian food in the middle of a 3-day race is a questionable choice. I feel like I learned that. And then grow our knowledge. I think there's a number of things to take away here. So the sprint in the road race, right? So I was completely destroyed mentally after I got dropped from the lead group. I had all these grand plans, and never about winning the race, but just wanting to stay competitive so I could do work for the team. And that didn't happen. And then I got swept up by a wonderful rotating pace line, which was great. And then just focusing on your job, or the best you can do given the situation. So the best I could have done given that situation is to win that field sprint. And I did, which was great. And I felt really good about that. And I gave myself a chance by at least giving myself some open road, not overcommitting to needing John to do some spectacular thing after he'd been working so hard. So I feel really good about that. So I salvaged a win from that day. I have something I can build upon. And then getting 10th in that crit was great. I feel good about that. I could have done better, watching the film. Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do that? But it's easy to see on film, and it's hard to do in real life. But I think one of those things I focused on is to stay home. So when I was in high school football, they told you to stay home on defense. Don't go running toward the ball. Stay in your spot. Do your job. And I probably could have done a little bit better of doing my job, which is to be a last-ditch Hail Mary effort for our team to be a sprinter. Anyway, LaCrosse was amazing, an incredible race. The organizers were fantastic. Spending time with all those teammates of mine was just an awesome time. Super grateful to my wife and family for letting me go away for 3 days and getting to experience sort of the eating, breathing, living bicycle racing for 3 straight days. The Airbnb was cool, the city was cool, the riding was gorgeous. Again, the organizers, unbelievable. So if you get a chance next year to make LaCrosse a destination race, I would encourage you to do so. All right, so if you do get a chance to subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate it. These videos take a lot of work, and I also appreciate it when people see me out at races. If you let me know that you enjoy the content, it really means a lot to me and keeps me motivated. So I love hearing from you. So grow our sport, grow our fitness, grow our knowledge. Thanks for watching today. Brian Davis Races, and you can too.